name is Nsofwa from Zambia. I would have loved to be with you, but my visa was denied. I'm glad to have the chance to express myself and also tell you about my personal experience in accessing sexual reproductive health as a visually impaired person. In 2009, I lost my sight to meningitis, which was as a result of poor adherence to my antiretroviral treatment. And at that time, I didn't know or have information about sexual reproductive health. However, after I lost my sight, I went back to school, completed my education, and did a course in clinical counseling because I really wanted to know more about HIV. I did learn about HIV and started doing a counseling course and had a chance to work at a facility within Lusaka. During my internship, I discovered that I was the only person who was visually impaired and I saw less persons with disabilities. The first 2 months were very difficult because I had no equipment and the healthcare providers were not friendly to me because they didn't know how to work with me. In the next coming months, I had the chance to work with other persons with disabilities because I think they got to learn that there was a person with visual impairment at the facility. And to my surprise, most of the persons with disabilities preferred to come and meet me than going to meet the other persons without disabilities, which also gave me a heartwarming experience. During that time, I had an experience with a couple that was visually impaired and wanted to learn how to use or how to wear condoms. And I was unfortunately the person who had to do the demonstration. Then I realized that there are a lot of sexual reproductive health services, information, and education where persons with disabilities are lacking. And that was the time I started advocating for persons with disabilities inclusion to sexual reproductive health services. I also noticed that healthcare providers did not know how to read and write, which makes it difficult for them to um, give information or education services to persons with visual impairment and even those with sign language. I also realized that a lot of persons with disabilities used to shun coming to the facility because most of the equipments in my country at the facilities are not disability friendly. Most facilities don't have ramps, they don't have sign language interpretation. But through the Make Way project, which I joined in 2021, we've learned how to advocate for equal rights, accessible services, and also made them very available. We've learned that we can speak out as persons with disabilities when we have the chance to meet up with a healthcare practitioner. I also learned personally that not all providers know Braille or sign language, but can learn once given the chance to. My appeal to everyone listening is to not leave anyone behind, including persons with disabilities. One of the other things that I learned during the Make Way project was that we also had a chance to do two research projects, and one of them was done within my community in Lusaka, where I live. And one of the things that we learned was that it was not just me who was experiencing these challenges. Some persons with disabilities, if not all, had difficulties knowing about sexual reproductive health. Parents were not willing to let their children go to the facility or even learn about sexual reproductive health, for they had their own cultural beliefs. They thought sexual reproductive health information was just linked to sex. And having conversations and having focus group discussions with parents, church elders, and even civic leaders, we got to learn that a lot of information is lacking when it comes to making sure persons with disabilities get the right information and attitude. We also saw attitudinal barriers when it came to the same. Most persons with disabilities and even persons without disabilities had challenges in trying to let persons with disabilities know about sexual reproductive health. Having had the experience and learnt from the Make Way project, I am glad to say that we are now able to speak and have the right attitude, behaviors, and even a culture that can advise people to have the right information, education, and even services. My appeal to everyone out there is not to limit anyone with information, a service, or even education. despite them having a disability, because disability is just something that comes about. We are human before our disability, and it's important for each and every person to know their sexual reproductive health services, information, and education. Let everybody have the equal opportunity to know. If it's about infrastructure, let's build infrastructures that are disability friendly. If it's about language, let's make them in an accessible format so each and every person can have information. No one should be left behind based on the fact that they have a disability.